We should definitely have a dedicated session on these. Actually, I would love to hear all of these connections that you're seeing from yeah, more like from an artistic point of view, right?
Color is an elementary phenomenon in nature, adapted to the sense of vision. A phenomenon that, like all others, exhibits itself by separation and contrast, by commixture and union, by augmentation and neutralization, by communication and dissolution. The intensest and purest red is produced when the two extremes of the yellow
And what's all the threads that you see connecting with your perspective? And also please do share more also in the chat. I think we're ready for more more real transdisciplinary art. So welcome everyone. I don't know if everyone had time to look into the agenda, but this time we had an addition. I don't know, Letty, was it you?
Yes, if we can do that, like we can have Satori maybe read our manifesto. That was like our recollection of what was missing of Omega and what we were doing here. So maybe it's a good time to kind of recap the essence of what the thing we are doing here. And I love you if you can read aloud what so Sister wrote this down and it's in our manifesto. I cannot find it, so Sister, do you have it? You can share screen maybe for it to read.
Yeah, so I'm still having problems with my Discord or the browser likely. I cannot share screen without the thread.
I actually have like this thought because kept on thinking about this. It's like Imaginarium. When we get a good idea and it like hits, we just like go with it. You know, like it like nothing stops us, we just go with it. And I was trying to like most simple way to like imagine it for me, and I've been liking this. So think about like a balloon, right? And you'll just like bounce it up and down. It up and down. That's cool, right? And then you lose your attention. If you have someone else, you know, when you're a little kid, bounce it up and down. And at first, it's like, okay, I don't want to be the one that drops the ball. That like motivates you. And then you notice if you're in sync, you're passing it back and forth. And then it becomes like, oh, let's see how long we could do it together. And then if you get like a third person in it, a little bit more dynamic. And that becomes even more interesting, but it is even more hard. Like it's harder to have everybody getting in sync, and like that for me is an infinite game. Just what we did, we kind of like demonstrated me and Steph. I like, hey, I found that kind of cool and interesting. Just like saying to me, sparked to me. I tossed it back to him, and then he played with it. I feel like everybody has their own balloon, and so this balloon is like your piece of the puzzle. And like almost everybody right now is just bouncing their own balloon.
Yeah.
You don't realize that we could all like have this infinite game where we could toss these balloons that we like crafted out of our own souls to bounce them all back and forth. And this should be like, I think I came to like this own poetic sense of thinking about Omega.
Yeah, that's like the idea of Omega maybe. And we were this session that was last year, we were kind of a very meditative state. So we were playing with the consciousness of the group, which was emerging that way. And it was like maybe not passing through the balloon, but we were like very into our own creation here. So it was kind of a different play. And you were connected to that.
And I wanted to like demonstrate like this kind of like a fundamental underlining principle, and then we were doing that in the chat, and that's what emerged out of North Star concept, and so like that idea didn't emerge just for me, and it emerged from us playing that game of going back and forth with this boom that we discovered in group.
I'd say we should apply this idea to itself.
That was my thing about the infinite games. Like, how can we apply that for like small little games for us to be like motivating each other in a very subtle way, in an intrinsic way. Like, if it's totally up to you, and if it catches your attention, and like if we have like this cultural realization that like that is fun, and that really helps spark that intrinsic motivation, that is like, I think, the most productive way. And I think it's like a goal for all of us to like maintain as a healthy way of, you know, going about our way of life.
I'd be totally game. At the same time, though, for example, I think so there are things that we just need to be doing. For example, you know, setting up wallets and asking for grants and so on. Like, and these are things that, you know, they're not simple, or for me it's really a lot of work. For others it might be really because it's structured, come really easy. But these things need to be done. So we have these type of things, and then we have, of course, what I think everyone agrees, what makes Omega an interesting place and a safe place to be is exactly that we want to hold this exploratory space, and in there, you know, playing this ball passing, and, you know, we have mentioned this improvisation is happening, and we could also add it to our tool list if you want, and that we have those sessions as well. But I feel right now also we need to find the balance. Well, why? Because we could get funds for the work that we're doing, and some of the participants are, you know, could benefit from those funds. Many or some of us, you know, are really here for intrinsic motivation and have the luxury, or, you know, somehow manage it to have multiple lives and manage their funds. So this is the challenge where I feel like I need to find balance, or also ask how we can get there. I believe for that we should have even more freestyle, or more this type of session, to see what is in this new potential energy. So I'm super curious, and maybe we need to branch off, or have you know, not just wait for this Wednesday session, but really start jam sessions, or I don't know how we want to call them, but definitely enable. Yeah, that's
maybe infinite game sessions. So like, if we're noticing, like, I kind of want to, like, okay, so this is something. Some things are like a big, dense idea, has like a gravity to it, and it's like orbits, and like we gotta find and seek when our orbits go together. Just be aware of that. I think it will emerge. But also too, when we find that, maybe we write notes to ourselves, and then we say, hey, I think this might be a good flow. Does this gel with your thoughts on it? And then, okay, maybe we present this as like a general principle of the group.
So I think it won't be general. That's my take, because we have very, very many different styles. And there is a huge, I believe there's like, I think also the most active people here will definitely continue gravitating towards that. But I also feel like, you know, perfect. So, and these are things we can again change, improve. But for example, one option would be to just take the lead and shape the next Wednesday session, for example. So shaping the agenda and then just leading a Wednesday session is always a way to, let people, invite people to a play. You have to prepare, right? Right now there's an influx of very fluent researchers, I want to say, who want to explore these different working styles, and I'm also drawn to that, for example. So it would be great, if we cool. Okay.
Regarding that, I'm also working on consilience.
So definitely recommend everyone to read up on that as well. I think it resonates a lot, especially also, as you say, it's exactly where we're at, right? I mean, Satori, for example, the thing that you started today saying, emergent, it goes more into the field of emergent learning, and I think we're all game. If you had any pointers to what you proposed, these free flow or play sessions, it is both in nurturing networks and emergent learning, right?
And because it's just how I am, I'm reflecting on myself, right? And when you said more system dancers and system thinkers, I was like, I like that, but then how my own internal infinite game that I play with myself, it's like, hey, I think I could be a system thinker too. I was like, okay, that's a challenge. I can do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I believe, and I think, always trying to actually get out of your comfort zone, and token engineering is about engineering, right? Token engineering is about getting things to a specification so that it then can be engineered and put into software and run on a, world computer, if you will. So that's the technical part, and that requires live information from living networks. So we need to, in order to make that connect between, as we see, like the humanities and the engineering heavy side, we do need people who are comfortable not being comfortable. Where you think building capacity, coming from yourself, and if you have seen, what is all the areas where do we need to go, and what I don't know yet, but I'd be interested in going. There, if you could add some notes there, that will be also helpful. I just want to add that Nick isn't here, but you've known her, and definitely she's sending out very strong signals that she really cares for that. the building capacity, in a sense, really getting into what it entails to be a token engineer, what they call it hard skills and soft skills in the olden world. But that type of capacity building, I think, also will ease the pain point that we discovered, that there is just, if skills are missing, we have frustration and so on. And the other thing, taking action, right? One person might need a concrete action plan to take action. The other person might just need an impulse, and then they flow. So again, very different styles there, and it would be wonderful if we can figure out, how we say, number one, token engineering ethical principle is learn how to host multiple worldviews. I think this is, one instance of it. How do we work together with our very different working styles and these compassionate systems? And I think that's exactly what is it that we're talking about. The ones are systems thinkers, the other ones are systems dancers, but drop those labels. We just really want to figure out how to make systems that don't break people and nature and don't break themselves easily either. So what do you think when you look at this? Does it make sense?
It makes sense to me, I think. But there's a line that I said in my play that I said, is this authentic codex or is this just poetic fantasy? And I kind of want to go into what I really wanted to share with group. And this kind of goes into, I want to really research and bring out to the table, because as much as anything could be sacred to me, this is something I have found. So to set some kind of context in a meta sense is, I had this dream once where it was like the end of the world, and I had all these books, and people were running around. I was like, why are you saving those books? Like, you're gonna die or whatever. But if we have a chance to live, we need to preserve some books. And he's like, why? It's like, you don't understand. If you really read a book, it changes your mind. And then I remember that getting illustrated in my dream, and I'm kind of like, okay. So it gets to one of these books that has changed my mind a lot, and I want to share it with everybody. And so this comes from, it's called Los Aztec Codex. And a little history on me, for lack of a better word, there's a label that I am Mexican American. As I feel and I go through my felt experience, I'm native to the Southwest. And so I've been in a poetic sense, looking for my lineage. I've been feeling like there's been something missing within me. And when I read this, it gives me a kind of an internal North Star. Because before proceeding with this text, I would like to offer some background on philosophy and metaphysical concepts of the Aztecs. The codex were memetic devices, memory aids for recording the sciences and wisdom of which the Aztecs had knowledge. The knower of things were wise men. These initialed into the cult knowledge and were responsible for composing, painting books, and knowing and teaching songs and poems in which were preserved to the Aztecs sciences, wisdoms, and mysteries. The Aztecs found in rhythm the poetry as easy and accurate way of remembering the meaning of the hieroglyphs inscribed in their manuscript. It is impossible to overemphasize the importance of poetry in shaping forms and thoughts expressed in high cultures and great civilizations of ancient America. Without knowing what the Aztecs called flower and song, poetry, we can either understand nor appreciate the greatness of their achievements. And for me, they had they didn't have any friction with flower and song. Flower, nature, biology. Song, how we create in harmony with it. And that, for me, is my internal North Star. And this is the ideal for me. And so, some reason that feels intrinsically energizing for me. And that's, for lack of a better word, what I hold sacred when I personally are in a crisis. And I guess I get to the heart of what I want to explore. And I think when we're dealing with, we have real life. I think real life has a bias towards math. We are in hyperspace. It has a bias towards poetry. It's the same thing. the same thing, but it's somehow, I think I intuitively, for me, it makes sense that it's kind of inverted. Because this whole thing has been made out of our collective minds. This is a space we started to form in thoughts in our minds, but then we clashed them together until we started to see this in a more solid state. The birth of it was within our collective minds clashing together.
Yeah, or attracting. So I need to ask you, thanks for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I believe maybe there is one more pattern. You said, I was looking for my lineage. And that was something missing inside you. So would you say that is also something that drove you to Omega?
I said no. Before I even came to Omega, just a little background. My group, we mainly function out of Minds, and Minds is an alternative social media group, but we have a liquidity pool. So I have some liquidity in there. And really, the rewards only work if you have liquidity. If you try to post, it's like, this is the intrinsic value. This is what my lived experience with token reward system. You spend a week pouring your soul into something, and someone who shitposts gets extraordinary amount compared to something that I do intrinsically. And to me, my infinite game, when I decided to be different as Satori D, I did a willful change of saying, I'm going to play infinite game and I'm going to do this. It kind of feels me when I feel like, okay, I'm not getting any tokens. I'm going to make my stuff better. I'm going to spend more time on it. I'm going to build it greater and more to my liking and more to expression of my motivation and doing that. So, I made a willful intent as an artist to forge against these groups that are happening as a byproduct of systems from an artist's perspective.
Let's explore. Because some things resonate.
Sorry, to round out that thought, before I came here, I wrote a proposal because Bill, who's the CEO, said he wanted to do a grant system. And that was a year ago when I talked to him, and he said that on the show. And so, I followed up with him and said, hey, what's going on with that thing? And I basically inquired, but I wrote a proposal to my best ability. And I told it was to test out how we could maintain community. I was going to use majority of them to have these games and to see if we could sustain creation and play. And so I have talked to Bill for a long time, so I had a sense that he was lagging it. So me being me, I was like, well, I'm going to learn more about how to write a proposal. Okay, where do I have to go to find that? And then I found myself here. Then I was like, oh no, there's something more important. It's Omega. And then I just okay, I'm going to make space and just dance for a week in Omega. Yeah, I feel at home here. Okay, now I could grow roots. That's how I felt, internally.
Yeah, but then let's also, let's up your game on writing proposals. Do you wanna?
Yeah.
Please do shadow me on updating the working group Omega proposal, and then also you can also have a pulse on whether all of that does not come too short, because what you say, poetry, art, again, science, literally research, if we knew what it is that we're doing, we would not call it research, would we? So these things do not actually lend themselves well for, asking for little amounts of funds for short terms. You can do that with, MVP in 2 weeks and an app, and you test it if it works. So on one hand, that is a critique, but on the other hand, we need more imaginative ways. And Jean is here. I hope she didn't leave, didn't get to the part, but she also comes from that side, right? Actually,
I'm here.
Every act along the path can have an insight, and that can be shared, and so on. So from our side, also we need to make a better explanation of why we are so convinced to the point that we might as well just stop writing proposals and fund it completely differently, but actually have that freedom to research, to wonder, to play, to create, and I guess, or not I guess, that's something also I hear from Motion DAO, Jean and Stefan from there, is being part of this process. And again, we're getting back to the peer learning area, being part of that process. Like, we are researching token engineering, but at the same time, token engineers, new and onboarding or upskilling ones, are part of our research, right? I think that is a circular economy that might well be funded differently without, demanding from us to come up with proposals every month. What did we do last month? What are we going to do next month? Of course, we're going to share that very lively, in a very participative manner, but not such that we have a written report that can be voted on. That's not alive. So, okay, that was my wrapping up of what I or what resonated, what shared. So, definitely that working proposal, I'm going to start right away. Thanks for energizing, and I'll definitely share with everyone.
Make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
To Steph.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe me and Steph work on this a little bit more, but I'm thinking we have corresponding art to the article to add extra depth. Meaning, it could go either way. Steph could read the article and go blindly and see what comes out, or he could get guidance who wrote the book, or he could just be sitting there with them. We could. I mean, it's all up to you, Steph. How you feel, you could do it.
Yeah, I was listening to you and had like a few associations with one of Slavoj Žižek's books called "Sex and the Failed Absolute," where he talks about the 3 unorientable surfaces. I'll add it to the map. It's like a theorem about the Onion bottle to go from the double cross cap. So I had this kind of thing with when you said something about how to be in it and in it, that I thought about these kind of spaces which kind of impossible spaces, but they do exist. So I'll just add it to the board, and it would be nice to read what you're reading. I'll add the link also to the part of the book, and the PDF will be there also.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Super, super cool. And one more comment. This is the only place where it's really about the transdisciplinary art of token engineering, where it's not just about, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, but actually we have finally art in it. So thanks so much for, tech making this all possible. Many things happened, so this place could be. Then thanks for people who started Omega. Thanks for people who came in, and this is really amazing. And it's I just look forward, and I'll do my best to not suffer any trade-offs, but actually play with that as well. I think we will have some good epiphanies here.
Quick question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I did kind of make an outline of when we're talking about proposals, in terms of complexity, and how we interact. So at the bottom of this, the point of this is to come out with, living wisdom, right? So if you're talking about it from a Batesonian standpoint, then it would be warm data, right? I prefer living wisdom, you know. But I think what I've tried to do here is to try to explain the process of how to arrive at living wisdom, and it might be interesting for people who want to make proposals to try to see in what way, you know, something like this could maybe create some clarity about what it is that they're doing in terms of, you know, creating proposals.
Where did you share it?
I think it's been in the gravity thing, but I could share it in the Omega.
Yeah, please, if you just share some links, because yeah, definitely, like these are also words echoing from you. Actually, one thing that that really triggered me at first was every time when Mendogadas was saying, yeah, but what is it that makes you feel alive inside? And that was, exactly the point where I was missing something inside. That's that's why I'm here, and I think we're exactly getting there. We're, transcending these paradigms. This is the way, kind of. This is how it's done, and you have to adhere to rules because that's what engineers do. We define rules, and then they need to be automated, and we all just becomes cogs in the machine. And that was literally the trajectory that I was on when all of these things unfolded. And definitely, yeah, please share.
I did. I'm just trying to say maybe we could use it as a way to ensure that we remain alive. You know what I'm saying? That we actually have budget for, promotion, expectation setting, what is alive, because we're too focused on results.
Yeah. And but also, a general remark, don't expect tech or just the working group Omega to be able to cover any funds and so on. So if always expect that extrinsic reward as an add-on that will be coming in and so on. Yes, but it just puts too much pressure, especially on a working group that that is built to work on token engineering ethics and so on, to have that tension, in my view. But of course, I understand totally, and we will get those funds, but you will see like the budgeting from token engineering commons, especially in the beginning, is not big chunks. So that's just a side note, for people.
Yes, I wanted to speak about for a while. I forgot. And then just at the last minute. Okay, so especially about the point of capacity building. I wanted to. I think a good addition would be flow theory in psychology. Csikszentmihalyi's theory of flow. In terms of skill building and motivation regarding skills, I think it would be a really good way to frame things regarding that. And I'll leave it to that. I won't add anything else, any of the details.
But please share links.
And I can work on that.
Yeah, and just a comment to that as well. Like in token engineering ethics, ethical principles, number 4 that we uncovered is enable informed participation, and Manu is also working on creating a practice session based on the capabilities approach, right? So that is one approach by a Nobel Prize winning person. However, so what I also like is that we synthesize, right? That we don't just say, hey, this is award-winning, and that's why it has credentials, and that's why we're just going to take it, and we'll be fine. But actually, really add things that resonate synthesize, and then as we have also in our I like that we say, okay, you know, we see what is it that we can put on the table, all these maps, right, and we subvert them to see the opposite, you know, and then we really subtract things. We simplify it without truncating, you know, we just don't add model to model to model to model, so it becomes a monster model, but actually to find out what is the essence that we're seeing that is then contextualized in the space in which we are, this token engineering space, and that's basically what we do. And for example, this flow theory, if you exchange, I'm sure you know, Manu will find resonance, or maybe also can link to it and could also make use of it for developing this practice session and so on. So definitely flow, that just one more, you know, resonant point there is flow, finding your bliss, runner's high, you know, all those things is exactly where you are in this extremely balanced state. And it does not necessarily have to be, you know, movement, but it can. So yeah, definitely in the intrinsic motivation, the biochemistry of action, if you will. So there are many things that we looked into, because also, well, when you're designing incentives, incentive mechanisms, you are thinking hard about how to motivate people and whether you're legitimized to do so. Always a side note, but there basically, again, it's a very interesting petal of the cryptoeconomics flower, psychology and decision making. So all these sources that we can put together, again, can be part of the consilience library, at the very least our omega curation, for example. So don't hesitate to change and exchange those links.